Welcome everyone this evening to the City Council meeting for June 10th. Welcome to everyone here and at home. The first thing that's up today is a Pledge of Allegiance to commemorate Flag Day. On June 14th, I'd like to begin by reading an excerpt from a recent presidential proclamation and then ask you to join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. For over 200 years, our flag has proudly represented our nation and our ideals at home and abroad. It has billowed above monuments and memorials, flown beside the halls of government, stood watch over our oldest institutions, and graced our homes and storefronts. Generations of service members have raised our country's colors over military bases and at sea, and generations of Americans have lowered them to mourn those we have lost. Though our flag has changed to reflect the growth of our republic, it will forever remain an emblem of the ideals that inspired our great nation: liberty, democracy, and the enduring freedom to make of our lives what we will. As we reflect on our heritage, let us remember that our destiny is stitched together like those 50 stars and 13 stripes. In red, white, and blue, we see the spirit of a nation, the resilience of our union, and the promise of a future forged in common purpose and dedication to the principles that have always kept America strong. With us tonight to lead the pledge and representing Girl Scout Troop 2019 are high school seniors Casey Shellhorn and Kayla Bundy from Churchill High School and Annie Tarter from South Eugene High School, and they are joined by Janelle Shellhorn. Girl Scout Troop 2019 started in the year 2000 with a group of enthusiastic kindergartners. They are now graduating high school seniors who have grown into confident young women leaders and who are heading off to college this fall. Yay.
All right.
Over the years, the girls of Troop 19 have participated in many community service events, including raising money for Red Cross, helping Family Shelter Home and Green Hill Humane Society, doing beach cleanup, and also earning badges and learning about the community. And I had the pleasure of joining them once for tea. They brought a picture of it. It's been a while. They look quite different now. In recent years, they've been best known for leading Camporee for young girls, organizing a weekend of camp activities at the coast for 80 to 100 younger scouts from Eugene. So before they ask us to join them in the pledge, would you give them a hand? Stand with me and they will lead us in the pledge. Flag is right up here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very, very much.
I don't want to break into song. Yeah, it's fantastic. No, just song, thanks. You're a white guy.
So next comes the public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official or are on tonight's agenda as a public hearing. So if you are here to talk about the bag ordinance, you don't talk now, you talk during the hearing, which comes later. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. When you come to the podium, please give your name, city of residence, and for Eugene residents, your ward if known. The timer and lights indicate the time you have to speak. A yellow light will come on when you have 15 seconds to complete your comments. The red light indicates the end of 3 minutes, and you will come up there to speak. And we have 7 people signed up. And first is Rick Satry, followed by Carol Schumer. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. My name is Rick Satry. My business address is 375 West 4th Avenue, Suite 201 in Eugene. I am speaking tonight on behalf of the Core Campus MUPD application. I have 3 minutes and I have 3 points. And I'll begin by saying that these aren't necessarily words that you have not heard before. I'm sure you have, but they're nonetheless important. Point number 1 is tools in the toolbox. There have been many downtown projects completed in the very recent past. a number of them, the LCC downtown campus, the Bijou Theater, First Tap House, the Broadway Commerce Center, the Woolworth Building. All of those represent public-private partnerships. They all used various tools or sets of tools to make them happen. And those of us who call Eugene and Springfield our home, we're very proud and very excited that those things have happened. MUPTI is nothing more than a number one of those tools in the toolbox. It takes public-private partnerships to make things happen, and that is indeed what the core campus application is seeking to do. The second point is Envision Eugene. As you've heard, the Envision Eugene program has been awarded a Planning Excellence Award for the Oregon chapter of the American Planning Association. Envision Eugene is one of the planks in the platform. Is about infill, density, and along the transportation corridors. And we believe, all of us are very proud and believe in Envision Eugene. The state profession is recognizing the excellence of Envision Eugene. Indeed, the core campus proposal fits right in with infill, redevelopment, and along transportation corridors. The third point is free money. We all know that if we've really paid attention to the MUPTI program, that a decision to award MUPTI to any particular application, the city is not giving any money to those applicants. Indeed, what you're doing is you're merely making an investment. And I said merely, I shouldn't say merely making an investment. You're making an investment. It's a lot like an annuity. Only in this case, you don't have to put any principal down to receive an annuity. Your annuity is your trust, your faith, your belief in the future of Eugene and the future of downtown. So it's a no-cost annuity. And the payout right now is estimated to be $475,000 per year, every year, forever. So there's a no-cost annuity. Your investment is merely a yes vote when the time comes. Thank you very much.
Carol Shermer is next, followed by Dave Hauser.
Good evening, Mayor and City Councilors, and thank you for listening to our opinions. My name is Carol Shermer. My business address is 375 West 4th, Suite 201, and as a resident of Eugene, I'm in Alan Zelenka's ward. I don't have a lot of new information to add either, but I also know sometimes when I hear things 3, 4, and 5 times, some of it starts to sink in a little bit. So I know some of this is repetitious, and I think I have one piece of new information that we've sort of skipped over, and I'm not sure why. So there's so many things to like about this project for me as a design professional. I'm a landscape architect and land use planner. Architecturally, this is a Class A building, and I think that's something we keep forgetting. Glass and steel with exceptional finishes, not traditional stick-built 2x6 framing. So a whole different level of building to go in our downtown. This will add to the conversation that a certain level of quality has come to our downtown area. It is contemporary in design and a perfect fit with other important buildings along this corridor, like the Federal Courthouse, Matt Knight Arena, Jaqua Center, and the U of O Alumni Building. It uses a small and unusually shaped brownfield project site very efficiently and achieves over 300 units per acre. I haven't worked on a project of that kind of density yet, and I've worked on quite a few student housing projects. In this manner, this project meets so many of the Envision Eugene goals, not the least of which is density along major transportation corridors, density at the core, and density between the core of downtown and the river. Financially, this project generates substantial property taxes over and above typical development for the site, and you've heard quite a bit about that, so I won't belabor that issue. It will add 120 to 150 local jobs that will last over a year. While I would like my job to last more than a year, that seems to be typical construction. I know a lot of construction workers, they're in and out of work. They're happy to have a job for a year. That puts them 1 year closer to economic recovery and hopefully more and longer jobs in the future. So every year we can extend that for local labor is an exceptional decision. This is the new piece of information. This project contributes approximately $1 million in systems development charges. That was something that wasn't calculated in the package, and I think that's an important piece to understand. It hasn't been mentioned often because we focused on the tax exemption $430,000 of that is designated for parks. It's evident that the various tools that the city has utilized over the last decade have brought development to the downtown more quickly than any prior periods. I came here to the University of Oregon as a graduate student in 1986, and I'm finally seeing downtown come to life. So let's use this financial tool. Let's not stall development just because we think we've reached critical mass or because we don't agree with the use of the building. Let's continue to build on the momentum that has been created and continue to add to the vision of downtown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Hauser is next, followed by Bill Whalen.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Dave Hauser, 2168 Elkhorn Drive. I'm here tonight representing the Eugene Chamber of Commerce. First of all, I really appreciate the thoughtful consideration that Council is giving to this project and to the MUPD program in general. As I was watching the work session earlier tonight, I was reminded of a quote that took place during the depth of the recession by Benjamin Olakonde, an economist and scholar. He penned the quote, "Hope is not a strategy." And I think what he intended in that quote is that, we can hope good things happen in our communities or in our nation, but really it's about the successful execution of our economic, financial, and development goals through concerted efforts that increase positive opportunities. And that's what I see happening here. Incentives are challenging conversations, but I think in this particular case, as it relates to Court Campus, there are a number of reasons that you should support it. One, it makes long-term financial sense. You spent some time earlier tonight looking at what happens if you don't make the investment, about $275,000 over the next 25 years versus either $4.7 or $6.2 million in property tax revenues over the next 25 years, depending upon the number that you use. It makes good financial sense. Bringing students downtown creates a lot of economic activity. We talked about during the Capstone project, about $361 per month in discretionary income. With 500 residents, that's $2.1 million of spending a year located very close to your core. It's been mentioned several times that the project's consistent with all of our planning and community goals. And to your work session, it's not really a question of whether student housing will be built. I think you could make the argument, yes, it will be built, even without incentives, but it's a matter of where and how. If you want it to be more dense, you need to incentivize it. Your panel told you that during your MUPD work session. If you want LEED certified, you need to provide incentives. So it's really not a question of if, it's a question of how and where. And these incentives allow you to dictate where it happens and how it happens. And I think that's a very positive thing for our community. And then finally, I think this site is uniquely suited for student housing. It's close proximity to mass transit, to bike routes, to walking routes. It's not in an existing residential neighborhood. It's really surrounded by commercial uses, so the impacts are going to be significantly less. And then certainly there are the construction jobs. Those are important. Tim Dewey says that the economic multiplier for construction jobs is 1.84, so that means $1.84 is spent for every $44 million that would be spent on this project. So there's never a perfect project. This is a really good project and one that deserves your support. Thank you.
Bill Whalen is next, followed by Brian Nicewinder.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. I promise to be short. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Bill Whalen. I'm a resident of Ward 5 and I work downtown. I want to speak tonight about the Core Campus Hub project. The project continues to build on the current momentum in downtown. We have long recognized that a key to downtown redevelopment is to provide more housing with diversified residents. The project fits in perfectly with the Courthouse District as an architecturally significant building in which the city can take pride as it creates a nice entry into the core of the city. An increase in the number of downtown residents means more activity for retail stores and restaurants, especially in the evenings and on weekends. The multi-unit property tax exemption is designed to encourage high-density housing and redevelop core areas and ultimately strengthen the entire tax base. The lot has been vacant for over 8 years, and this development will feed new life and business into the downtown area. The project follows along our Envision Eugene process, which targets compact urban development and multifamily housing. This has been a long-standing and fundamental part of the community's land use and growth management strategy. I encourage you, Mayor, and the councilors to work with Core Campus developers to make this project successful for the City of Eugene and our downtown. Thank you.
Brian Nicewonder is next, followed by Steve Romania.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. My name is Brian Nicewender. I'm a principal with Core Campus and currently reside in Champaign, Illinois. First, I'd like to thank you all for your extensive time, thoughtful review, and energy put to this matter in our application for the multi-unit property exemption to build the hub at Eugene. I'm here tonight to reaffirm our commitment to this project and ask for your support. Our goal is to serve the students of the University of Oregon, the Northwest Christian University, and Lane Community College for many years to come. However, shortly after our application was submitted in January, the MUPD program was suspended, which is causing a different review of our application than some of our predecessors that applied to the same project. We understand this. We want to be good community members, which is why we've stayed the course with this project and this program. We've worked diligently with the city staff to answer several questions that we've heard from council and from members of the community, and have provided some solutions. Core Campus, as you've heard tonight from the staff, has offered a guaranteed stream of payments years 6 through 10 of the MUPD program. We've also responded to the counteroffer made by the city and added additional payments to the stream years 8 and 9. Those payments, those guaranteed payments, along with the continued payments of the property taxes as they currently sit at approximately $10,000 per year, total a stream of approximately $1 million that the city would have to their disposal to use for affordable housing or other programs that they choose. To my knowledge, no other applicant before us has committed to offer a stream of payments as part of the MUPD program. But we've heard the concerns and have responded with that offer. The hub will be home to 500 residents on the transit corridor, on the bike path, in close proximity to the university and the heart of downtown. These students will come from dorms and also likely from neighborhoods which were typically designed to house family members or families. There will also be demand driven from what we believe to be even moderate growth at the university level, not just the University of Oregon, but the others mentioned earlier. The growth of 2% a year would create a demand of approximately 500 beds per year. We're also very serious about local hiring practices. We've traditionally hired local general contractors in all of our projects, and they've achieved a local hiring percentage of 75 to 99% across our various projects. We expect the same to happen here in Eugene. Core Campus is ready to turn a brownfield site.
Thank you. Steve Romania is next, followed by Ed McMahon.
Hello, thank you very much. Steve Romania is my name, and my residence is 2150 Stonecrest Drive here in Eugene. I also want to disclose I'm a partner of the Skybox and Courtside student housing apartments on Villard and Orchard Street. I am opposed to the Core Campus proposal, which is kind of strange for me to sit here in front of you because 10 years ago I was on the executive committee of the Metro Partnership and probably would have strongly supported it back then. But being involved in the student housing industry in Eugene, I believe that student housing is way overbuilt at this point. I submitted basically some statistics and of what has come on the market since 2008. There's been 1,255 units this year. There's another near 1,000 units that's coming on the market. And with proposed and prospective, their units through 2016, there could be a total during that period of time of around 6,400 student housing units on the market in the Eugene campus area. The core, from hearing during the work session, is proposing about $700 a bed. Our average bed, we're getting about $650 right now. We had a very low vacancy rate this year. However, last year at this time, we had leased up about 80% of our student apartments. We're currently at about 60% at the Skybox and about 40% at the Courtside. This has been greatly impacted by the new inventory that's come on the market, and we think with the inventory in the future, occupancy is going to decrease, and it will definitely affect the price per bed that we'll be able to charge. With that happening, we feel that by giving the tax abatement to new developers, and we welcome competition, but we don't feel it's fair to give subsidies to new development coming in when the market can be served, and that actually it could affect the tax base of the existing property owners that have student housing out there. And I feel that that would affect the smaller player, the people that have, maybe 4, 5, 6, 10 units. I think we can absorb it, and we'll take the proper marketing to compete in the market, but I think the smaller player would definitely be hurt, and it could affect the tax base and negate what you were trying to accomplish. So I like you.
Last up is Ed McMahon.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Ed McMahon, Executive Vice President of the Home Builders Association of Lane County, 1065 River Road, Eugene. Tonight, I'm here to ask you to support the Core Campus MUPTI application. The Core Campus development, the hub, would be built at the corner of Ferry Street and East Broadway. Over the years, this property has drawn very little interest from developers because it's a brownfield site, the result of a location being a gas station for many years. Now, the hub meets many of the community's expectations as outlined in Envision Eugene. For an example, the hub will be built along a primary transit corridor. It meets standards of increase in density. It meets sustainability goals. The hub is expected to be a LEED Silver certified building. All are important aspirations for the community, and we've said this is what we want to achieve. Now, since Core Development submitted its application for the hub in January, the criteria for MUPTI applications are now in flux. We're not sure what they're going to look like. And one could argue that changing the rules in the middle of the game is not fair. But to their credit, Core Campus has supported the Council's efforts to set standards and bring tax money back to the city sooner. Core Campus is offering to make graduated payments to the cities years 6 through 10 while continuing to pay the $10,000 in annual property taxes that we already get. In all, it's over $1 million in additional property taxes paid to the city over a 10-year MUPTI period as compared to $100,000 if the property stayed vacant. To further underscore the hub's significance, once it's completed, Core Campus will pay an annual property tax for approximately $450,000 beginning year 11 versus $10,000 annually if the lot stays vacant, and less than $200,000 per year if the brownfield site could be developed to a standard residential or commercial building. In short, Core Campus will develop a brownfield site, brownfield or LEED Silver certified building, support Envision Eugene's density, transit, and sustainability initiatives, open up more single-family homes in neighborhoods, bring more students closer to campus and downtown, provide the city with $1 million more in additional property taxes, and will pay a minimum of $450,000 in annual property taxes from that point on. Because of these community benefits, I urge you to support the Core Campus MUPTI application. And please keep in mind that the 34,000 new residents that we plan to welcome to Eugene, almost 50% of them are planned to live in a multifamily development. Thank you.
Thank you. close the public forum and ask if there are any comments from council. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank everyone for coming down and speaking. I especially appreciated the quote from Tim Dewey, a reference to the economist at the University of Oregon. That would be the same Tim Dewey who has demonstrated that subsidies for student housing are not only not necessary, but actually harmful to existing landlords and developers. And I also appreciated the reference to multifamily housing, of which Core Campus will provide exactly 0 units. And I'd like to thank Mr. Romania for giving us some facts as opposed to slogans. We'll talk about toolboxes and sustainability and transit lines and density. So I do appreciate those comments. Thank you.
I, too, want to thank everyone who came, and actually, the only other comment I want to make is I think the design for the hub project is a very handsome project. I think it's a very good-looking project. And actually, for me, kind of does a bridge between the federal building and the new structures along Franklin. So with that, we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, and that's a consent calendar. City Council President?
I move to approve the items of the consent calendar.
Second.
Moved and seconded. No one in the queue? So would you please, all those in favor of the consent calendar? Oops, yes, sir?
No, I think we're voting.
Oh, you're voting.
We're missing the button.
We have no button. So, yes, hands are up. Okay, all those in favor, that's 8, and none in opposition, it passes. Thank you. Okay, so we will now go on to our next public hearing, and it's an ordinance concerning suspension of the paper bag pass-through charge. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. In October of 2012, the City Council adopted ordinance number 20498, encouraging the use of reusable bags by banning single-use plastic carryout bags and requiring a 5-cent fee for carryout recycled paper bags. The ordinance went into effect on May 1st of 2013. On May 13th, the City Council voted to reevaluate the paper bag pass-through fee. Tonight's public hearing is on an ordinance to suspend the 5-cent per bag charged during the reevaluation period, and it's scheduled for potential action on July 8th.
Okay, I'm going to open the hearing, and those wishing to speak during the public hearing must have submitted a complete request to speak form to the information desk prior to the beginning of the public hearing. When you come to the podium, please give your name, city of residence, and for Eugene residents, your ward if known. You will have 3 minutes to comment. There are lights on the podium. The yellow light indicates you have 15 seconds to complete your comments. The red light indicates the end of the 3 minutes. And we have 13 people signed up. Fred Simmons is first up, followed by Sean Miller. Fred?
Fred Simmons, 312 South 52nd Place, Springfield. The business people in Springfield, I think, are quite elated with the plastic bag process in Eugene. Many of those businesses have taken the same plastic bags and they moved across the bridge in Glenwood, and they're there. The thing that irks me about the issue is that if you're a vendor and you're a SNAP vendor for food stamps for things, you're not allowed to charge above and beyond what the normal rate for the food is, and the person may not have. That nickel may not mean anything to the general population, but it means a lot to people who are trying to buy the bare essentials of food to feed their families. And I think that is one of the thorns about this issue that you ought to consider. I went to a hardware store and I bought some fasteners, and the guy says, "I'm going to charge you a nickel for the bag." And I said, "Thank you very much." And I just turned around and walked out, and I went to Jerry's in Springfield and bought the same fasteners, and I didn't have to pay a nickel for them. And it just doesn't make sense to have it the way it is. I support, certainly, reducing and reusing as much as we possibly can. I noticed that you have water bottles now. That in the good old days, we used the water bottles that were delivered for the meetings and stuff. My water bottle has probably got 80,000 miles on it, and I've used it for a long time. So I would encourage you to suspend that portion. Another unintended consequence is that if I want to go to Penny's and I buy a pillow or something large that needs to be put into a bag to be appropriate, they're charging 20 or 30 cents for that bag because they can't use a reasonably priced plastic enclosure for that product. They have to sell a bag, and so they're charging 20 or 30 cents. So there are a lot of unintended consequences about it, and I would ask that you, as reasonable folks that you are, in spite of the advantage that it has for Springfield, to suspend that pass-through fee, because I think it is encourage the use of the bags. Participate with Lane County Recycling, Reuse, all of that program. There are some other unintended consequences about that system. If you don't clean the bag, it could have consequences with food contamination.
Sean Miller is next, followed by Pamela Fritz.
Good evening, Mayor Piercy, members of the Eugene City Council. Sean Miller, I'm here tonight on behalf of the Northwest Grocery Association, and we're asking you not to move forward with suspending the 5-cent pass-through fee. And as we read through some of the emails in the packet and understanding the concern, if the concern is low-income people affording the reusable bag and the recycled paper bag, together we believe we can address this in two different ways. One of them is a voluntary effort. As many of you know, the organization I represent stepped up today and donated 10,000 reusable bags to Eugene for targeting low-income individuals. And so I think from the, at least on the reusable side, getting those out to where they don't have to pay anything. We're committed to do that when we first testified on the issue, and I think this will help at least get a lot of those reusable bags out, which follows the intent of the original ordinance. And the second issue is go ahead and exempt the SNAP benefit beneficiaries. That does require another proposed ordinance. It's something that we would support, similar to the Women and Infant Children WIC program that's administered by the state. So I think some of the concerns there, not only providing reusable bags, but then going ahead and exempting SNAP beneficiaries of the food stamp program from having to pay the 5 cents is something that we can support. Language has been introduced in the city of Seattle, and we comply with that city ordinance just fine, and we would support the city of Eugene to move forward in the same direction. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Pamela Fritz is next, followed by Karen Booth.
Hello. Pamela Fritz. I live in Eugene, 645 Howard Avenue in Eugene. I've lived here for a little over 20 years. I appreciate you guys having the willingness to listen to us on this very touchy issue. I'm a single mom. I'm on a very strict budget. I'm not on food stamps, but I budget very much to the dime penny. And I do use my own reusable bags. There are times when I don't use them because I've forgotten them and have been required to pay the 5-cent deposit. I don't necessarily agree with it. For people who are on food stamps, people who make less money than I do, an average trip to the grocery store, if you have to pay, would be about $1. Maybe 10 bags would be 50 cents, and you take that times 4 trips a month, $2. It adds up. And I'm very much supportive of recycling. I'm very much into the reusing of the bags. I think there's a health risk in the reusable bags. Some of these people of the community, the poor people, may not be educated, and some of the bags may not even realize they need to wash their bags, and it can pose a health risk. I think if you, as our council members and mayor, would take a look at the aim to listen to the people of the community who are less fortunate, that you would be listening to the cries of their heart of not another fee, not something more. And if you were to repel this, I think it would bring on a greater feeling of these people are listening. They've heard our cry. They know that we don't like this, and there's other ways around a 5-cent charge for a plastic bag. Thank you.
Karen Booth is next, followed by Wesley Schweitzer.
Hi, I'm Karen Booth. I live in Betty Taylor's ward, and I'm opposed to lifting the 5-cent fee. I would support the change, as discussed earlier today by Alan Zelenka, to eliminate the fee for people on food stamps, beneficiaries of the SNAP program. But the goal of the 5-cent fee, and the reason that I work so hard and talking to people and explaining the 5-cent fee, is that it's an incentive similar to the bottle bill. It reminds us, bring your bag. If there's no fee, people don't bring their bag. And we saw that in Portland when they started this program as well. So I really would like for Eugene as a whole to be able to decrease our contribution to the waste stream, and I think that the 5-cent fee is very important for that.
Wesley Schweitzer is next, followed by Steve Coatsworth.
I'm Wesley Schweitzer. I live at 3015 Emerald, and I've supported the bag ban, and I was the bag man, actually.
Speak up, please.
Oh, thank you. Sure. It takes time to get used to the system, and I understand that people have to change their ways in paying 5 cents, but it seems like it's the only way that we can get people's attention. I'm a social worker, and I work with people who are disabled and on Social Security, and it hasn't been that big of a deal for them. So it takes time to get to change your system of thought. Our landfills are being filled, and our oceans being filled with plastic, and bringing a bag isn't that difficult, and I do it all the time. So thank you.
Thank you. Steve Coatsworth is next, followed by Chris Wigg.
Hello, Stephen Coatsworth, live at 531, right, Chris? 531 West 13th. I just want to start by saying that my friend Sol Terrell did his PhD program on paper v. plastic over at OSU, and basically what he said is that if we created an infrastructure of recycle plants.
Talk right into the mic, Steve.
Oh, if we created a system of recycled plants, which would be intensely expensive, and then we somehow convinced people to recycle their bags all of the time, that it would reduce the carbon emissions or our carbon footprint by like 10 times versus trucking around paper. But I'm not seeing any Dwight D. Eisenhower's willing to build that kind of infrastructure right now. And I think that this plan is a good plan in terms of solving it on the front end ourselves. I agree with Councilor Zelenka that we should have an exemption for people on SNAP benefits. I think that makes sense. Two speakers ago, she used 2 of the 3 R's, reuse and recycle, and I think that this focuses on reduction, and that's important. I talked to somebody at George's store the other day who said that you've drastically reduced the number of bags you've been actually using in total. People are oftentimes just carrying out what they don't need to bag up, and I think that's great. In terms of the first speaker, I think it's a little bit silly to suggest that people are going to hop in their car, spend lots and lots of money driving to Springfield, certainly more than 5 cents. And second of all, your environmental impact is going to be way higher. With the price of gas, I know that I can't afford to do that. I just spent some of my last couple bucks, and I don't know if I'm going to win the race for getting a job before July rent. But I think that the 5 cent ban is not that much to ask. And yeah, I support it. I think that it's done in the tradition of people like Tom McCall and Wayne Morse and other Oregon folks that said, well, if we're not going to get any help from above, then we're going to do it ourselves. We're going to stand up and DIY. Thanks.
Chris Wigg is next, followed by Sonny, that I can't read the last name, so Sonny will tell us when Sonny... Meta, got it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Wigg. I live at 531 West 13th in Eugene, and that is in Ward 1. And I am the vice chair of the Democratic Party, although I'm here today as a private citizen to talk to you about plastic and paper bags. And I think that the speakers that have come before us have really kind of covered the breadth of the issue, why to be against it, why to be for it. I just thought I'd share with you an anecdote about something that happened to me a couple weeks ago. I was at JCPenney buying these khakis that I'm wearing today, and I got into line to pay for them, and there was a woman who was in front of me, and she was a little incredulous. The cashier had rung up her purchases, and she was starting to get a little heated about, well, why do I have to pay 5 cents for a bag to put this stuff in? And because I'm nosy, I kind of interjected myself into the conversation, said, well, hey, try to have a conversation about this. Like, the cashier was clearly getting flustered. And so, so I said to her, well, what seems to be the problem? You seem upset. And she says, well, they're making me pay the 5 cents for the bag. And the quick pivot is, well, I guess that's the point of why we're supposed to pay, is so that we have to think about the things that we use. And that kind of disarmed her. And she was like, well, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but she says, well, yeah, yeah. And, we talked about, and there was nobody else in line, so the cashier and she and I talked about, about all of the plastic bags that are in the rivers, and that the paper bags are better, and that I personally use all my paper bags to recycle my cans, and so on and so forth. And ultimately, by the end of the session, she had elected not to use a bag and to carry her purchases, which were a dress shirt and a tie, to her car in her purse. And she apologized to the woman who she had kind of been castigating when I walked up. And I thought that was kind of a nice, the whole situation in a microcosm, that this whole thing is about educating people and making us, all of us, city councilors, citizens, cashiers, everybody, aware of what they are using and what is wasted. And I think that that's a good conversation to have. And I would challenge and I would encourage you to stay the course with this, because it started on May 1st. In a month and a half, we don't know what the effects are going to be yet. And to put something into review that we don't even know that is bad in the first place, that seems a little premature to me. And I want to thank you very much for giving me this time to speak. I really appreciate it.
Sonny Mehta is next, followed by Ashley Miller.
Well, I just wanted to say that I think we, as a state, are not going to reach a level of bipartisanship of the Tom McCall era. And like Mr. Coatsworth said earlier, being a progressive state, we need to continue how Oregon has been leading this country. And Eugene is not going to suffer that much if this plastic bag ban continues. I mean, now more and more cities every month are considering plastic bag bans, and I think that regressing is not the right way to go. And instituting a fee of some sort to parlay the costs on food stamp and SNAP benefit receivers is probably the most effective way to get rid of any doubts about the ban in general. Thank you.
Would you give your name for the record, please?
Sonny Mehta.
Thank you. Okay, Ashley Miller is next, followed by Michael Gannon.
Ashley Miller, 2675 Norkenzie Road, and I'm in Councilor Clark's district. I've heard some great testimony, so I won't take long, but I wanted to just say tonight on behalf of myself, as well as the Oregon League of Conservation Voters, that we oppose the suspension of the 5-cent fee. But what we would like to see is the council work to make the ordinance more equitable, and doing that through excluding those most affected by the fee, which would be those on food stamps or SNAP benefits. We believe it's important to work to make the ordinance better, which this change, I think, would do. As we mentioned earlier, and as many other folks have mentioned earlier, we believe the fee helps create that incentive to use reusable bags rather than the disposable bags, which is really important, and which is what the intent of the ordinance actually is. So just a thank you again to all of you for your support of the reusable bag ordinance and for your work to make it a little bit more equitable. Thank you.
Michael Gannon is next, followed by Andrew Nunnenmacher.
Hello, I'm Michael Gannon. I live in Eugene. I'm interested in using this as an opportunity to suggest that the council could be much more aggressive about these kinds of issues, because it's a local issue and it presents a lot of unusual opportunities to implement both sides of the rhetoric that we see dividing the country about conservative versus liberal or progressive. So I would say that we should keep the 5-cent and start to look at the amount of regulatory possibilities come up from that kind of a tax. And we should look at the possibility that we could use the money that's gained from that tax to explore solutions for other challenges. One of the current big ones for the landfill is very similar, are the incredibly large number of disposable cups going to the landfills. And there's some cups that have been created that are compostable under certain circumstances. But I think it's interesting that what we don't see is that the municipal communities across the country that are faced with, or local government in this case, because it goes into the landfill, are faced with an enormous number of problems and are not adequately dealing with them. And the result is that we, through our denial, put it back further and further. I was on the county land use, or the recycle and reuse commission, and it was very difficult to implement things that would reduce the volume going to the landfill. And then when you discuss the taxes, raising taxes in Eugene to repair the streets, we discover that garbage trucks in the neighborhoods are one of the chief users of the streets and also create the most damage. So if you spent the 5 cents to even make some headway in coming up with a better disposable cup and similar items, I could get into a list of them, but they're out there. So, and in the process, you use this token fee, which is being approached on the internet, to use token fees in very tiny ways to generate cash flow. And so that could be done by the city instead of blanket wide taxes that hit everybody equally and everybody not equally. Thanks.
Andrew Nunnenmacher is next, followed by Charlie Plybon.
Hello, my name is Andrew Nunnenmacher, Ward 6. Not much else to say. I oppose the suspension of the bag fee as well. Not much else to say. I go into the grocery store now and I see a lot of not plastic bags, so I think that's a very good thing. And I like the idea of the SNAP benefit thing too, because, yeah, that's really all. Thank you.
Charlie Plybon is next, followed by Celine Swenson Hearns.
For the record, my name is Charlie Plyben. I'm the Oregon Field Manager for Surfrider Foundation, and I live in South Beach on the coast. I'm here on behalf of our Eugene membership, who was strong supporters of the bag ban ordinance from the get-go, and also are very supportive of the 5-cent fee. So with that said, we oppose the suspension of a 5-cent fee. We have heard the concerns of some of the individuals this evening, and we've heard the concerns of some of the individuals on this council. Those were focused on low-income individuals. We did some research, and we made some suggestions and worked with the grocers on an exclusion for those SNAP benefit individuals. And I think this is one of the rare occasions where we can address an issue pretty head-on with a policy change. And so I'm going to recommend, along with some of our partners and colleagues, that the council consider making a motion towards such a change in the ordinance to address the issues concerned.
Okay, last up, Celine Swenson, and I'm sure I'm going to mess this up, Celine, sorry. Harns, right?
The last half is actually Harris.
Oh, I knew that didn't sound right, Celine, and I was going, I couldn't read it, sorry.
Yeah, so my name is Celine Swenson Harris. I live at 1312 Mill Street, apartment 2. I'm here to speak because as a college student, someone who plans to stick around the beautiful Pacific Northwest for quite some time, I support this program. This 5-cent fee is something that helps to benefit our environment. For a lot of us who might feel otherwise too inconvenienced or too hurried to remember to bring our reusable bags, this is just the incentive we need to remember to do that and not be polluting any more than we need to. That said, I do believe that it's very important that people who have less money in our community, people who might be adversely affected, are able to not face significant hardship because of this, and I think it's important that we as a city have a commitment to supporting these people and helping these people. So I am in support of amending it to be able to provide an exemption for people who are on food stamps. But I think it's important that we as a city that's committed to the environment continue to incentivize people remembering to be responsible and bring their reusable bags. Thank you.
Thank you, Celine Swenson Harris. All right, but that'll be the end of this hearing, and I'm going to call on Councilor Lincoln and Councilor Pryor, and then Councilor Clark, and then Taylor, and then Polling. Got it.
So thank you all for coming out tonight on this very nice evening to address us. I wanted to make a few comments about reusable bags and plastic bags. Until recently, each year, Eugenians used estimated 67 million single-use plastic carry-out bags a year. And while single-use plastic carry-out bags may offer short-term convenience, they have a long-term cost in terms of litter and impacts on wildlife and the environment. It's for those reasons that we are promoting the use of reusable bags and ban single-use plastic bags at all retail establishments. But paper bags are still available at all retail establishments for 5-cent fee. And I wanted to make sure that everybody was clear that not a single dime, none of that fee goes to the city of Eugene. The entire amount, every single penny, is actually kept by the retail establishment to help defray their cost of paper bags and the shift away from plastic bags. So none of it goes to the city of Eugene. And as with our beloved bottle bill, which works exceptionally well to get people to return their bottles, the 5-cent fee in this case creates an incentive to get people to bring their own reusable bags. I don't hear anybody today calling for the repeal of the bottle bill 5-cent deposit. Everybody can completely avoid this fee by bringing their own bags, which I think is a very important point. Also in our ordinance, we did exempt some low-income people from paying the 5-cent fee. However, we didn't specifically exempt people from the SNAP or the food stamp program, and they cannot use their Oregon Trail card to buy the bag. So as soon as possible, I intend to offer an amendment to the reusable bag ordinance to simply exempt all people in the SNAP program or food stamp program from the 5-cent fee. Instead of throwing the baby out with the bag water, instead bath water.
Bring out the bag lady.
Bag lady with the bath water. By eliminating the fee altogether, we can simply exempt the SNAP people. and food stamp folks from the program. It's been done in Seattle, as has been mentioned in other places without any problems. Finally, I wanted to say that today we had a press conference announced that we had, I had arranged for the Northwest Grocery Association, in particular Safeway and Fred Meyer stores, to donate 10,000 reusable bags, just like this one, to Food for Lane County so that they can give them to low-income people. And we're targeting specifically the Food for Lane County folks so that they can give these bags out to people at their food pantries and the other 79 venues that are in Eugene. And I wanted to thank Safeway and Fred Meyer, and especially Joe Gillum, president of Northwest Grocers Association, working to make this 10,000 bag donation possible. And I wanted to thank Beverly Hughes from Food for Lane County for working with us to make sure that we target this giveaway to those who in the community can afford least to buy a bag. So thank you again. Thanks.
No clapping, please. Thanks. Okay, Councilor Pryor.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody coming out for the public hearing. One of the reasons why I voted to bring the ordinance forward was to be able to hear from folks, and 13 of you did take the time to do that, and I really appreciate it. I also would really look forward to Councilor Zelenka proposing, if this should go down or not go forward, to propose an alternative which would exempt folks from the SNAP program, because from what I understand, or from what I've heard, there's really two reasons to oppose the 5-cent fee. The first one is economic, which I think is perfectly legitimate, and there are people for whom this might be an economic hardship, and they're primarily food stamp, SNAP people at low income, and if we can accommodate that, I think that would be a great thing. The other kind are folks like Fred Simmons, who's somebody I've known for many years, who would consciously say, I would spend $1 in gas to save 5 cents for a bag. That, to me, is not an economic decision. It's clearly a decision of principle, and I respect a decision of principle, that I would rather spend $1 of my money to fulfill or to meet a principle that I believe in, which is don't charge me a nickel for a bag. And that's fine, but I can't control people's belief in their individual freedom or their principle. I'm trying to accomplish something different. And so if he wants to spend the gas money to drive to Springfield so that he can have a plastic bag, that's fine. That's okay. We're trying to create something greater, something bigger, and I think that's what we're doing. And in the course of doing that, we can't make low-income people suffer. And so that, for me, is one of the benefits of the discussions and the process and the hearing we've had, is it will actually allow us to create some greater strength in the program without damaging the greater good it was designed to create.
Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. The first part of the conversation on this whole issue was about banning plastic bags because of their effect on the environment. And I was okay with that argument. That made some sense to me. There were a lot of parts of that I said, okay, I get that. And if we can do something intelligent and lead, that's something we should try. The second part, the charging 5 cents, for me, was problematic for a number of reasons. I think there are, respectfully, more than two reasons why people would oppose it. One of the issues that's a problem here is, of course, this part about affordability for low-income folks, and that was one that was raised initially amongst many others. We initially kind of blew that off and said, oh, it's 5 cents, it's not going to be a problem for anybody, and I argued at the time that I thought that was really wrong and that this was a bad policy. I see some of my colleagues wanting to move backwards on that part of the policy, and I think that's good and healthy, but there are still other parts of this that are a problem and that are going to have negative consequences. Now, I don't disagree with the goal. I don't disagree with the environmental goals. I don't disagree with the idea that it would probably be a better thing if we had better ways to deal with our use of bags in this way. However, I kind of have a problem with comparing this to the bottle bill because that was a positive incentive. You do this, you get some money back. This is a negative punishment for not complying, and there is a gigantic difference. That's the part that people like Fred resent, and lots of them. And what I heard tonight may have some bearing that there's a job of government to do some education of folks, if they have it, if they have information that can help people, and that's fine. But to say, we need to educate you and you need to comply or we're going to punish you is horrible public policy. And it's not the way to build goodwill, and it's not the way to change people's hearts and get them to come with you. That's why I've said, okay, I hope my colleagues change their mind on the whole part of this policy. If they don't, I'll go the next day down to the county elections office and register for the petition to get it withdrawn. It'll take me 7,800 signatures to get it done, to get it on the ballot for the people of Eugene to vote on it. And if there's anybody in the room that doesn't believe I can get 7,800 signatures for this, I think you may not be listening to public response very carefully. And that should give you some clues about whether or not this is good policy. So I agree with the goals, and there may be better ways to do this, and I'd love to work on them. But this is a horrible policy, and it should go away.
Councilor Taylor.
Thank you. This is getting interesting. I can't wait to see those 7,800. See Councilor Clark walking the streets and getting 7,800 signatures.
Volunteers already.
I've heard people frequently say this is an interesting discussion, and sometimes it isn't, but this one really is. I think this is all my fault that we're discussing this right now, because I brought it up. When we first passed this ordinance, there's no question that it's good to ban the plastic bags, but I've had questions about the 5-cent charge. I like an incentive better. I like the way some stores give you 5 cents credit if you take your own bag. And I've been taking my own bags for years, but not for the 5 cents, but just because my car is full of bags. And occasionally, though, I would take a paper bag, because how else am I going to take my cans back to the store? Except if I don't have a paper bag to put them in. Question. Another question, that's just a silly question. But another question is, how will you do the thing of exempting the SNAP people? That's the first thing that caused me to want to bring this up again. Check out, people were telling me about people who were taken by surprise and didn't have a nickel. And then it's embarrassing, as well as, and they said some people would have to make numerous trips to their cars carrying a few things. And then I thought, what about people who don't even have a car? How are they going to get their, and plan to carry their things home in a bag? I like the idea of having free bags. I think they should be free washable bags. Would be a good. Are those washable?
Yes.
That's good. That would be a good idea if we could get lots of people to add. I had hoped at first that we would have a Eugene ad on the bags, City of Eugene, Eugene Recycled or something like that, and give them to anybody. I agree with Councilor Clark that this is not comparable to the bottle bill. The bottle bill, you take your bottles back, and if you can't afford to pay for it, you take it back and you get the 5 cents back. And I don't think you could take your paper bag back and get 5 cents back, probably. So I don't know first I was thinking, I was having people, when I shop, they know that I'm partly responsible for this in the beginning, and people were saying it was a problem. And then the other day, I started, after I brought this up at council, someone said, by the way, that it's working. And several people have now told me in grocery stores, don't fool with it, it's working. So the thing I have left to think about is the SNAP people how would they say that they get the 5 cents free? To me, the big thing is the embarrassment of having to let everybody know that you're poor. Thank you. That's all.
Councilor Polling.
Thank you. You know, for years and years and years, I started going with my mother grocery shopping when I was maybe 5, 6 years old. Stores never charged for bags. It wasn't until this fee got instituted that stores locally started charging for bags. My theory is, instead of charging 5 cents for bags, give a 5-cent discount for those people who bring their own bags in. There are times when folks just buy more groceries than they anticipated, and that additional 5 cents is kind of a burden. You know, I'm glad to hear the conversation about not charging people on food stamps or the SNAP program, but this community has countless number of people that are just barely above the line and do not qualify. A good example, one of the first ladies that spoke. They count every single penny that they spend, and over a period of time, that 5 cents a bag adds up. So, it's good that we're having a conversation about the lower income people, but that qualify for subsidies, but what about the lower income people that don't? I've heard complaints from people that either work, manage, or own stores complaining that folks are coming in advertising other stores on their bags, and they're a little offended by that, and they're believe it or not, blame the city for that. Here's something to think about. We're going to have an influx of people later on this in July. We're also going to have an influx of a lot of people come football season. They may or may not be surprised about the plastic bag ban in place, which, is another topic altogether. But imagine their surprise when they're going to get charged 5 additional cents without any warning, putting all their munchies in the bag when they leave to go to the sporting events. I just think there's a better way to do it. The original proposed ordinance, the wording was may. The stores may charge an additional 5 cents, and it got changed to shall, and it put the burden on the store owners themselves. And here's a good one, Councilor Brown, you'll enjoy this one. Portland doesn't charge 5 cents a bag, so why should we?
Councilor Evans.
I just have a question, since I wasn't on council when this was put into effect. Can someone help me understand why there's no ceiling on this? There's a floor, but there's no ceiling. I was taken aback a little bit when the same thing as Fred was. I walked into Penny's, bought a tie. I want a bag because I'm a bag guy, right? And paper bags are fine with me. But they charged me 6 cents instead of 5, and then I went back and read my packet and realized there's no ceiling on this. So can someone help me understand why it wasn't just a flat 5 cent fee? There was anything to that?
Putting in the ordinance.
Sure, we'll do that in the queue.
As opposed to, I don't know what Fred got.
This will come back to council for discussion, and we can probably get the answer then.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Claire.
Oh, do you want to put me in the queue?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So just listening to the conversation, I'm inclined to support the continuation of the fee. I think it's too early in the process to mess with the whole ordinance, but I do definitely support the idea of adding the piece of exempting folks who use SNAP. And the way, Councilor Taylor, that they would be, that exemption would work is that you use your Oregon Trail card, or you use a form of payment when you are a SNAP beneficiary that indicates that you're using SNAP. So the cashier wouldn't have to ask, there wouldn't have to be any conversation. They would know by the form of payment that this person is a SNAP recipient through the Oregon Trail Card program. There may be a fuller answer to that, but I know at least that. In response to some of what Councilor Pauling said, I think in terms of folks who might come from out of state to attend track and field trials or whatever the case may be, I think they'll be so pleased by the fact that there's no sales tax, they probably won't notice the bag fee. And right now, many of us who use reusable bags carry around the logos of other businesses, the Lane County Farmers Market and such, already when we go and shop at other stores. So I don't really think that's a strong argument against using our reusable bags. And in terms of the ceiling, there's no prohibition on businesses charging for bags, even before this ordinance went into effect. So businesses could be charging for bags if they so chose. We're asking them to charge this 5 cent fee to incentivize folks to reuse the bags that they have.
So I remind you that the purpose of this evening was to give them a chance to be heard and not us. And so just want to remind you of that. Councilor Zelenka.
You asked.
I know. Not for debate, I don't think.
I'll take 6 or 7 rounds on this probably, right?
I'll answer Councilor Taylor's question. The exemption for the SNAP or food stamp program is pretty easy in the ordinance. There's already an exemption provision in there that exempts people on WIC, Women, Infant, and Children's Program, which is a nutritional program. If they have that card, they're automatic exempt. We get in the ordinance, we do very simply just add about 4 words that says "and the SNAP program," and that would, I think, take care of it. As for the implementation, what they've done in Seattle and other places, if you show your Oregon Trail card when you're making payment, it automatically, as Councilor Surratt said, indicates that you're on the SNAP program, so there would be no need to ask and put anybody in an awkward or embarrassing circumstance or predicament. So that would be, I think, would be a very easy fix to do, and as soon as possible, I'll make a motion to make that amendment.
Okay, thanks, everybody. We're going to move on now. So thanks again for everyone who showed up tonight, and now we're going to...
Mayor, just
Yes.
real quickly on that, so what'll come back is the current ordinance.
Right.
So that's when I assume somebody would make that motion at
Right.
that time.
And if I can clarify, so council cannot amend the proposed ordinance to do what Councilor Zelenka is talking about because the nature of that amendment is so different than what went before a public hearing. So we'll need to hold, you'll need to hold a new public hearing, and given the requirements for notice, from the time you give that direction, it's at least 3 weeks before you'd be able to schedule the public hearing. So at some point, Councilor Zelenka would need to make the motion to direct us to schedule the public hearing and set the ordinance. The sooner you do that, the sooner the public hearing can be set.
Councilor Zelenka.
So doing that before the break allows it to occur in September, public hearing?
Yes.
That would be way more than 3 weeks, right?
Right, depending on when you want that public hearing to be.
There's only one public hearing between now and break. It's in July.
Councilor Clark.
No, man. I'll withdraw.
Okay. All right.
Not my
Are we ready to
question.
move? Okay, everybody? All right. So we're going to move on to the appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. And first up is the Budget Committee. Council President?
Before I make the first motion, I'd just like to make clear that there were a number of positions on all of the boards and commissions where people did not get the 5 votes that automatically put their name in the blank spot. So I tried to go through the ballot results and for the blanks and chose one of the next highest names to be placed in there. So bear with me as I go through this. For the Budget Committee, I move to appoint Will Shaver to position 3 on the Budget Committee for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30, 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilor Clark and then Councilor Taylor.
I was just going to say real quickly, I was the one who didn't turn in all of the ballots in the same way the rest of council did. I wanted to make that clear and take ownership and accountability for that, which changes the process a little bit, and I appreciate the indulgence of my colleagues for not having done that. But I appreciate George's way of doing this in a fairest manner to those watching it. Usually, for those who are applying, it would often be the case that someone would receive 5 votes when everybody has turned in their ballots. So,
Councilor Taylor.
I move to substitute Bob Cassidy.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Okay, so we're going to vote on the, did you want to speak to that or just vote? Vote? Okay, so we're going to vote on the substitute motion. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, in opposition. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It goes down. We're back to Will Shaver. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in favor, and none in opposition. It passes. Congratulations to him. Next up is...
Next position.
Yep.
Move to reappoint Laura Illig to position 5 on the Budget Committee for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30th, 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, would you please vote? All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, none in opposition. It passes. Congratulations to Laura. Now we're going to do the Civilian Review Board. Council President?
Move to reappoint Stephen Buell McIntyre to position 3 on the Civilian Review Board for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30th, 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilor Clark?
Unless I missed something along the way there, John Brown was one of the applicants to this position. Do I have that correct still? And he did not pull his application?
Cards, I know.
Okay.
Okay.
I would tend to support the motion because that particular person has served well on this, and I suppose I'll make a broader statement with the next one put forward, but in a motion.
Okay,
I'll
so
do
we're ready
that.
to vote on this one. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. None in opposition. It passes. Next.
Thank you.
I move to appoint Christopher Wigg to position 4 in the Civilian Review Board for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30, 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilor Clark?
Move to substitute for John Brown.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
As a member of the Police Commission who essentially did all of the work to come up with the formation of the CRB, John is one of those people in our community who's done more work over the years to try and create a functioning, healthy system than just about anybody I know about. I don't know a lot of people who are more well informed about both the structure that was created, why it was created, and how it was created, and how it's supposed to operate, other than perhaps Tim Lowy, who's done a fantastic job. So I think we had a situation where John applied once before, and I apologized to him after that process because I thought he was treated with disrespect by some of my colleagues at the time who made some comments about him. I think the man's done an immense amount of volunteer work and deserves the respect of having the opportunity to serve.
All those in favor of this substitute motion, please indicate. 1, 2, 3. In opposition? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes down. We're back to the main motion. Christopher Wigg. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In opposition? 1. It passes. We're going now to the congratulations to him. And now we're going to do the Historic Review Board.
Move to appoint Ellen Courier to position 1 on the Historic Review Board for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30, 2016.
You want to second that?
Yes. Second.
Okay. See anybody? So all those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It passes. Thank you. Congratulations to Ellen. Next.
Move to appoint Barbara Perrin to position 2 on the Historic Review Board for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30, 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no one, all those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It passes. Thank you.
And move to appoint Kay Porter to fill a vacancy at position 3 on the Historic Review Board for a term ending on June 30, 2014.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no one, all those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It passes. Thank you. And
Move to reappoint Andrew Fisher to position 4 on the Historic Review Board for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30, 2016.
Second.
and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 8 in favor, none in opposition. It passes. Now we're going to go to the Human Rights Commission.
Okay. Move to appoint David Vanderhagen to position 4 in the Human Rights Commission, an unexpired term ending on June 30, 2014.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and none in opposition. It passes. Thank you. Next.
Move to appoint Edward Goring to position 5 on the Human Rights Commission for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30, 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 8 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. Thank you. Next.
Move to appoint, I hope I get this right.
Yeah, so.
Arun Tukey to position 6 on the Human Rights Commission for a 3-year term beginning on July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30, 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 8 in favor, none in opposition. Now, Tony.
Okay, move to reappoint Tony Gaiazzo to position 7 on the Human Rights Commission for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30, 2016.
Second.
All those in favor, please indicate. 8 in favor, none in opposition. Passes. Thank you for all of those. Now we're moving to the Planning Commission, and you should have received information today that former Councilor Ortiz has withdrawn her name.
Yep.
So
Okay. Move to appoint John Borofsky to position 2 on the Planning Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30, 2017.
Second.
moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 8 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. Next.
Move to reappoint Jeffrey Mills to position 3 on the Planning Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2013 and ending on June 30, 2017.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 8 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. Now we get to the Sustainability Commission, and there's a little deviant from your pattern here.
Yeah, the first name I'm going to put into nomination was move to appoint Bob Denalden to position 1 on the Sustainability Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2013 and ending on June 30, 2017.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Just to clarify, my statement is in these choices what Councilor Pulling told me that he had, with one exception, gone for all the ones who received the most votes. And on one, he will tell you when he gets there that he's making another choice.
That's this one.
That was this one.
Okay.
That was this one.
Oh, that was this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of the other...
I'll just explain. There were 3 of the candidates that interviewed that received 4 votes, and there were 2 that received 3 votes. And the name that I just put into nomination was one of the one that received 3 votes.
Okay. Councilor Taylor.
Move to substitute Barry Clayton.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 2, 3, and in opposition. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes down, and you're back to the original motion. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did you put your hand up too, Betty?
Yeah.
Okay, 8 in favor, none in opposition. It passes. Okay, next.
Move to reappoint Sasha Leftwick to position 2 on the Sustainability Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2013 and ending on July 30, 2017.
You mean June 30?
June 30, 2017.
Second.
Thank you, Chris.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 8 in favor, none in opposition. It passes.
Move to appoint Howard Saxon to position 3 on the Sustainability Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2013 and ending on June 30, 2017.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Move to substitute Barry Clayton.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3 in favor and opposition. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes down. You're back to the main motion.
Mayor.
Yes.
Move to substitute John Orbell.
There's a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Okay. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3 in favor and opposition. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes down. You're back to the main motion. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay.
All right, and then I move to appoint Carolyn Stein to position 4 in the Sustainability Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30, 2017.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Counselor Brown?
I move to appoint John Orbell.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 1, 2. In opposition? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It goes down. You're back to the main motion. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Are we? We're on to the Toxic Board now. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, this is for the Toxic Board. Move to appoint Wendy Cecil to position 1, an industry representative on the Toxics Board for a 3-year term beginning on July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30, 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 8 in favor and none in opposition. That passes. Next.
Move to reappoint Christine Ziller-Powell to position 4, an advocacy representative on the Toxics Board for a 3-year term beginning on July 1, 2013, and ending on June 30, 2016.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 8 in favor and none in opposition. That passes. We're now to the Willamette Natural Area Citizen Planning Committee.
Okay. Move to appoint Teresa Brand to position 1 on the Willamette Natural Area Citizen Planning Committee, an unexpired term ending on June 30, 2014.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 8 in favor and none in opposition. It passes.
And move to appoint Deveron Musgrave to position 6 on the Willamette Natural Area Citizen Planning Committee, an unexpired term ending on June 30, 2014.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please indicate. 8 in favor and none in opposition. Passes. Congratulations, everyone. And now you are through with the appointments. So we'll move on now to the work session on report to the City Council from the Police Auditor. Mark. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm Mark Gissner, the police auditor. To my right, immediate right, is Stephen Buell McIntyre, the chair of the Civilian Review Board. And to his right is Bernadette Conover, our vice chair. And so I'll turn the first half of the meeting over to Mr. McIntyre.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. Thank you for allowing Ms. Conover and I to present the CRB's annual report. The board is made up of a diverse group of people with different backgrounds and specialties. Can you hear me all right?
A little closer. There you go. There you go.
All right, sorry about that. I can say without a doubt the board does not always agree with each other. But they do take their work very seriously, and they are willing to ask tough questions as well as listen to opinions different from what they might like or might expect. The board also works hard to ensure the public and its members are heard and opinions are valued. I can also say the board is not in lockstep with or overly influenced by command staff or the auditor's office. Rather, the board sees themselves as an independent body that is transparent in its work and strives to honor its obligations to ensure public confidence in the police complaint process. The CRB met 12 times in 2012. 10 public meetings, 1 tour of EPD Property Control and Forensics Evidence Unit, and 1 executive session to evaluate the auditor's performance. The CRB reviewed 13 cases in 2012. Apologize, that's kind of hard to see. The CRB previously submitted its detailed written report, and I do not intend to review each case here tonight. Instead, I'd like to point to a couple of examples and share that the cases are diverse and cover many topics. In January, we reviewed a case involving an allegation of use of force, courtesy, unbecoming conduct, and truthfulness. It was alleged an officer unnecessarily leg swept an arrestee. Upon review of the video, it was clear there actually was no leg sweep, and that was a testament to the ICV. It actually showed, without a doubt, there was no leg sweep. The auditor recommended adjudication of unfounded. EPD and the CRB agreed. In May, we reviewed two cases. One was an allegation an officer failed to take proper care of a DUII suspect in custody when he did not accommodate her request for a restroom. The auditor recommended an adjudication of sustained. EPD so adjudicated as well, as did the CRB. The other regarded a vehicle pursuit of a car with stolen plates leaving a store in violation of policy. The auditor recommended an adjudication of sustained. EPD adjudicated as sustained, and the CRB concurred in that finding. I'd like to correct the CRB's written report previously submitted to council in that it actually omits CRB's concurrence. My apologies for that omission. In September, we reviewed an allegation of violation of constitutional rights and improper report preparation. In this case, while officers were interviewing a demonstrator, a fellow demonstrator was arrested for leaning against a wall that was marked as no trespassing after refusing to move along at the request of an officer. While the board generally agreed there was a technical violation of the law, members of the board felt there was an opportunity to avoid the arrest by engaging in de-escalation techniques. In November, the CRB reviewed a case involving an allegation of excessive force. This was auditor initiated, related to use of physical force, OC spray, and threatened use of a taser. The auditor recommended adjudication of within policy. EPD so adjudicated, and the CRB concurred. A number of the board members were concerned that officers missed an opportunity to improve community relations and failed to de-escalate the situation. In addition, the board had a considerable discussion regarding the use of ICVs and the apparent inconsistency of use by some officers. The board reiterated that use of ICVs can protect officers against unfounded allegations and encouraged more consistent use. We also do a fair amount of training, as you can see, each year. The board attended a number of trainings in an effort to improve its perspective and approach as is consistent with its obligations. The board appreciates the council's commitment to the oversight process and believes that the board's work has led to positive changes within EPD that ultimately benefits the community. Specifically, the board has observed more complaints that are internally initiated by employees of EPD. In addition, the board has also observed immediate adjustments to current departmental practices through command directives and other forms of communications, as opposed to delaying changes until the policy manual can be updated, which, as we all know, takes a considerable amount of time. On behalf of the CRB, I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve in this capacity and for allowing us to make this presentation tonight. Ms. Conover, do you have anything to add?
The only thing I would add is that in addition to the trainings that we have done, I was fortunate enough to be part of the Citizens Police Academy this past year. And one thing that I found, which was really helpful, was the presentation to the citizens from the Internal Affairs Department. And I would encourage either the police department, city council, or the police auditor to also have, as part of that police academy, a presentation by the auditor or someone from the CRB, because I think it brings it full circle for citizens to see what the police do, what investigations happen of the police, and then how the citizens come back into the circle and give presentations. I've been very appreciative of all the support that we've received from the auditor's office through Mark and his staff. I think that the group that we have on the CRB right now, it's a can be very charged comments during the meetings, and I think that that's been very helpful because the police staff that's there then goes back and says, we need to relook at things. I'm encouraged by the number of reports that have been internally generated, which means they're looking at each other and saying, how can we be better?
So, Mark, how do you want to do this? They do their presentation, you're going to do yours, right? And so do you want to take a few minutes to see if there are questions or comments from council?
I was going to say, if you have questions for them, because they're volunteers and they probably want to go home soon, and then I can give my presentation.
So I just want to say, first of all, from all of us, thank you for the work that you do. And I'm very impressed with the reading about all that you've done and gone through. My only question of you is, what do you think is the most valuable thing about CRB after your experience of serving on it?
I would say there have been 2 incidents where officers, at least 2 that I can recall, where officers who were the subject of the review that we did were there present listening to our conversations around the table. And one of them, spoke with us afterwards and said, I really appreciate what you do. I didn't realize that you took it so seriously and spent so much time reviewing everything, and that makes me feel a lot better about the process. The other one I didn't have any conversation with, so I don't know what his point of view was, but the officer that did come and speak with us really was impressed by it, and so I think taking that back to the department, I'm assuming, told other people that we take it seriously and we're not just, armchair quarterbacks saying they did everything wrong.
I would just echo Bernadette's comments and also share, I think there's a lot of learning that happens in the moment, and I think that it actually works its way back to EPD, and we see changes that happen quickly, and I mean more in the moment that are good changes. And I think you see a confidence in the process and a better trust in the relationship between EPD and the public as well as the auditor's office.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? George.
Thank you, Mayor. It's not really a question. It's just it's a comment. I've attended several meetings during my time on council, and I just want to say that I just continue every time I go. I'm just really appreciative and grateful that you're so committed, and they really do dig deeply, and the conversations are free-ranging and frank and open, and you go through an amazing amount of material every review. I've heard the discussions, and it just must be an enormous amount of material, and I'm really grateful that you're there, and I think you're doing a really important service. Thanks.
Thank you.
My only other comment is that I know that it's a public meeting, and the public is welcome to come and listen to the deliberations, but I think we should just all work on inviting the public to come and hear those deliberations and find ways to make people aware that it's happening, and they are welcome to be there, and they'll learn from that experience. So I hope we'll work on finding ways to do that. Thank you both very, very much, and thank everyone else for us on this area.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Mark.
Well, moving right along at a late hour, as many of you know, I'm very passionate about my work, so if I talk too much, just say, next slide, please, and I'll be happy to do that. I want to thank the Civilian Review Board, the chair and vice chair. It's a formidable group, and they really provide a lot of questions and concerns and input that I don't always think about, and they debate each other and really just do a great job. I think one of the great committees that exists in this city. I also want to thank Tim Lowy, because he's leaving the board. July 1st, and Tim came on the board at a bit of a more of a tumultuous time, and took the reins as chair, and kept the focus of the group together. And I know he's done a lot for the community. Maybe the county let him name the building after him, maybe not. But in any case, he's really just done a tremendous amount of work for us, and is going to be missed. We look forward to our new member. These folks work very hard, and they have a lot of homework that we give them every month. They're only required by law to work to have 4 meetings a year, and they held 13. And some of the cases that they get are voluminous, and so again, I do appreciate all the hard work that they do for us. I'd also like to recognize Deputy Auditor Leah Pitcher, who's done a great job for us, and of course Vicki Cox, who some of you who can imagine that work intake at the city office of the manager and the mayor, some of the folks that come in and some of the concerns they have, and the great patience that Vicki shows with those folks who come in. And so again, they both really need to be recognized. I'm going to try to go through this fairly quickly. I know the hour's late. So, of course, I got to get the science to work. There we go. We did send to you our annual report about a week ahead of time by email. I don't like to spring reports on you on the same day that you get them, and I know you got them in paper on Thursday. So our drawing, which has been panned in both directions, but I think it's reflective of the depth with which we take our complaint processes, the seriousness of them, and it also is reflective of the design ability of Leah Pitcher with a computer, first of all, and secondly, the number of decision points that exist in the complaint process and the administrative process. I think one of the things that's most difficult for people to understand is when they come to our office, there's a certain expectation that we're going to be an advocate, and what really happens is after they present their case, then it flips to an administrative process in which, in fact, we're investigating an employee to see if they acted within policy. So, again, there's a number of decision-making points in that process, and we do take those things seriously. For 2012, we had 341 complaints, which was down slightly. I'm not complaining about that. It's still a significant number compared to other cities. One comparison, for example, Boise, with a population of 211,000, gets 149 complaints, and we get 341. And so we have a significant number of complaints. I think that's indicative of the vigorousness with which Eugenians are engaged in their community, and I think that people are aware of us. We recognize that there's always a trust factor in any institution that exists, and it makes it more difficult because, again, we're just not allowed to open ourselves up in terms of record laws. But by the same token, comparatively speaking, we get a lot of complaints. Of note, the allegation of criminal conduct, that can go anywhere from someone who claims that $200 or $300 was missing from their property to far more serious allegations. Those typically are, if there's some degree of credibility to that allegation, we will have a criminal investigation on it, given past history of some of the things that occurred in the city 10, 12 years ago. It's necessary, and so we do that. The allegations of misconduct has dropped to some degree. By the same token, they've become more complex. So we've seen an increase in inquiries, and the reason we've seen an increase in inquiries is that there's been an increase in if you will, in the front end in our office of gathering more information before we make a final decision on classification. Internal Affairs has had to deal with some very complex cases, including the property room is one example. And so we've tried to do more on the front end in terms of gathering more information, getting ICVs, getting reports, sometimes getting medical records. So that number has gone up to 93, and the allegations have gone down, but certainly not the seriousness. And that chart breaks it down a little bit better, which I could have done a minute ago. About 50% of our complaints are service complaints, and I was just telling Councilor Surratt, I had my first case ever in about 30 years when a gentleman complained that a youth was not arrested for putting his son in the professional wrestling sleeper hold, even though they were both consenting to wrestle. And so that's sometimes we get complaints about people who want someone arrested even when there's horseplay involved. And of course, there are few people in the city who are pleased when they receive a traffic citation, and they issue about 15,000 traffic citations annually. And so we do get complaints about traffic citations, and we actually get a fair share of complaints about the way officers drive. So once again, we have a very engaged community from the complaint process, and we try to resolve those as much as possible. We use those, what I call the alternative dispute resolution process, in which the supervisors contact the member of the public and talk to them about their concerns, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. This is another number, a chart that's more for your edification in the annual report, which will be posted on our website tomorrow for anyone that's interested in the City of Eugene's website. So that just charts it out to some degree. Again, as you see, the big jump in inquiries because we're trying to do a little bit more front-end investigative work, if you will, before we make a final classification decision. In terms of something different that we've done this year, we've been able to run a report about employees and a number of complaints they've received throughout the year. Half the employees at EPD did not receive a complaint, and about 20% received one complaint. Down towards the bottom, we had one employee that received 10 complaints, one employee who received 8, and those run the gamut of driving too fast to perhaps being involved in a use of force. I can tell you that once we ran these reports, we pulled every one of those cases and analyzed them, and I know on a weekly basis when we meet with senior command staff about internal investigation cases, we discuss those cases. I don't see a problem after evaluating each of those cases with those numbers towards the bottom. We have a few in the 2 or 3 complaint category that I'm losing my patience with, but oftentimes, particularly the person with 10 is, in several instances, was primarily the person who responded to a theft report or another kind of crime, and some folks have an expectation that there will be a significant use of manpower to even investigate something like the theft of a bike. That's just some of the expectations of the public. So again, I just want to make it clear that we vetted those that fall in that higher category, and I don't really have an issue with some of those, as I said a moment ago. In terms of the allegations by classification, in terms of complaints, because I want to remind you, of course, you know that, but the public may not know that, is we're a very complaint-centric model. The way it was designed was for people to come to us. It's not designed for us to search out folks who have been arrested and look through every arrest file and every arrest report. There's been somewhat of a change of that one with regard to the acquisition of the Blue Team process, which keeps track of every use of force now. We're trying to get it to the level to keep track of everything above non-resistive handcuffing. And so several times a week I am able to review each and every use of force that occurs, each and every pursuit that occurs, each and every traffic accident. Thankfully there aren't that many, but nevertheless a quantum leap, if you will, in terms of access to the things that are going on. In addition, I think that's what's critical with the implementation of Blue Team is it shifts the burden of doing the use of force report from the officer who just used force to the supervisor. It is now the responsibility of the supervisor for the first time in the history of this department, I believe. I hope I'm right about that historical fact, where the supervisor is the person primarily responsible for completing a use of force report. So again, a quantum shift for us on force reporting, and I'm going to be excited about getting the data and analyzing the data, excited in a vocational sense, not necessarily in a personal sense. So we're looking forward to that, but these were the allegations we had last year. The chart doesn't show very clearly, but it was broken down in the report that I supplied to each of you, so you'll be able to see those. We had few uses of TASER. It's a rather notorious tool in Eugene, so it is used very infrequently. The Office of Professional Standards is going back to 2012 to look at each of the TASER uses that occurred in 2012. And so that data is not ready yet because all that's being entered into Blue Team from those past experiences. Again, the allegations and sustained rate, we had a sustained rate of about 30% in the industry. That is far higher than most places. I think we do take these complaints very seriously. It's always difficult to compare yourself to other jurisdictions because no models are exactly alike. If I were to compare us to other models, it might be Seattle and Berkeley, Cincinnati, and Oakland perhaps we're probably closest to those, and I think that we compare very favorably to those, and have several different cities' annual reports in my office if anyone is ever interested in those. In terms of the sustained allegations, we had 2 use of force that were sustained, a number of unsatisfactory performance, and 2 vehicle pursuits. That we also looked at the disciplinary actions. The ordinance permits me to generally analyze it and do trends, not be very specific, unlike Ohio Public Records, not name names. But we did break it down into some categories. The retired prior to termination was 4 allegations, and that was 1 person. So again, in our report, we broke it down in some of the explanations for you. We had service complaints, again, service level performance. I discussed some of them that were all very important. I didn't want to be flippant about the one case because the man really felt like his son got assaulted. But when you broke it down and explained everything to him and explained what the law is about that, then I think he understood that better. In terms of when we do get surveys back, and we get about 20% of the surveys back, staff mostly, probably not me, helpfulness of the auditor's office was 92%. Supervisor listened to concerns, which I think was a great leap from the year before. It is up to 91% now. So I'm really pleased that the supervisor of whoever's involved, they're getting recognition for listening to the person and addressing their concerns. The variation that we found with the alternative dispute resolution process versus the mediation process much like many of us when we have to deal with a public utility like the cable company, would rather talk to the supervisor. And the vast majority of the people that we get the survey back say that they would rather talk to the supervisor than the officer. So I'm pleased to see that that number is jumping. So obviously we're getting better communication between the supervisor and the person who files a complaint, particularly on service complaints. They're not always pleased with the outcome, as you can see. At the end of the day, they're 90% thought that the supervisor listened to their concerns. 64% were satisfied with the outcome. I would imagine some of those are the traffic tickets and things, so that's worked out for us. Again, big jump in inquiries this year because of the investigative work. We're trying to do a little bit more at the front end. One of the things that, as you know, that worries me is police pursuits, and between significant policy changes, far greater supervisor control of pursuits. Pursuits have dropped significantly. Doesn't mean they're not going out and catching bad guys when there's a pursuit, but they're using different tactics than they've used in the past. And I think they're more careful about picking up another jurisdiction's pursuit. So I'm really pleased about that, because typically police pursuits kill about 300 people a year in this country, and about 100 people a year are innocent people, and we don't want that to happen in Eugene. The point that I always try to make to the command staff is to get the mindset of the community to understand that when they're hearing sirens, they need to go out, get out of the way, because it's a very serious matter. And so when the public understands that and the officers understand that, there's far less danger for people. There was the day when, and George can confirm probably, when you just chase speeders and traffic violators and things like that. And now with the ICBs, they can capture license plates and things like that. And so there's other techniques they can use besides following someone, unless that person is a danger to others. Complaints and commendations, we had more commendations than complaints. Again, another weakness, I guess, in the system is that the public doesn't know about a lot of good things that happen out there, as well as the bad, and that's regrettable. I had not learned till fairly recently of people received awards for saving lives of others, including in states far, far away in emergencies. And again, we just don't hear about those kinds of things, and it's unfortunate because nobody wants anybody to name names. And so, but there is a lot of good work out there that gets complimented. Again, going back to Boise, because I think it's a fairly reasonable comparison. They had 149 complaints and 99 commendations for a city about a third larger than we are. So again, once again, this is also indicative of the fact that Eugenians are very engaged in things like this. That's it. I could talk all night, as you know, but I won't. And so please let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it very much. I appreciate the work you've been doing. I wanted to just say that this chart of the allegations and the dismissed, mediated, unfounded, within policy, insufficient, or sustained, it's very useful to us, I think, to be able to see all of that, and to, seems like this can tell people that, in fact, you look at this, you've got out of 77 allegations, 23 of them are unfounded, 23 are within policy. You may not like it, but they're within policy. And 24 were sustained. It seems like a very responsive and reasonable place for us to be. So appreciate it.
Okay. And I forgot to also commend in one sense the work of the Internal Affairs Bureau. particularly right now, I'm not sure we're going to ever do better in terms of the conscientiousness and effort of the group that's in there right now. They really work very, very hard and very conscientious. It's one of the things that struck me when I talked to some other places is a worry that command staff interferes in internal affairs. It's not unusual necessarily, but I just double-checked with everybody just a couple days ago if anybody at a command level has ever attempted to interfere or influence them or even get in any way, shape, or form involved in their investigations, including the chief. And they all said no, and I believe that. And I think, again, that's another important thing. I can't hold an invention like a widget in front of you to show you it's something that's very abstract. But the mere fact that there is no interference in these investigations, I think, is key to the success of what we've been trying to accomplish.
Other comments or questions? Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I've got a couple of questions. These complaints, it's all EPD employees, not just sworn.
Yes, sir.
Correct. So.
Yes, sir.
How many people total is that? I know there's around 200 sworn. Another 150 or so.
Yeah, there's about.
A little rusty.
I had that slide up earlier. I have to find it again. There's 300 and something. There's about 179, and it fluctuates sworn, and then the rest are employees. So there's 306 employees. One of the things, too, is we have had some complaints that are more related to human resources, and I've been very careful in pulling the leadership of council to make sure that the human resources things stay within human resources. But there's 306 total employees, about 179 sworn.
I see. Okay, thank you. And have there been more internally generated complaints this year than previously?
Absolutely. Before Blue Team, it was already trending upward, again, with sergeants taking responsibility for the actions of their subordinates. But now with Blue Team, which puts a far greater burden on that first-line supervisor to report all uses of force, at the scene, they're taking photographs. They're gathering names of witnesses. There's not an equilibrium there yet. Sometimes they just take pictures of themselves, and they don't take pictures of the person who just got arrested. But we're working on things, so there's been a significant increase in that. And I think that the really good people in the organization are starting to feel empowered to come forward. And are recognizing that things are getting done with colleagues that they may not appreciate their performance and the things that they do. I just got one just a couple days ago, actually, where one officer reported another officer, and I believe that's the first time that has happened since I've been here. But again, as I've said to many people, is the best people in the organization are going to rise to the top if you give them the opportunity to rise to the top, and I think you're starting to see that.
Thanks. I'm sure there's different interpretations of that phenomena being set forth, but I think one of them might be, I think it shows that there's an increasing trust internally in the organization and in the system itself, and that it's not the scary thing that people maybe initially thought that it was, and that they're doing that to improve the professionality of the organization. And I just had one other question. On page 27, you had that chart about the vehicle accidents and pursuits, police pursuits. Those are the total number of crashes and not involving police pursuit and police pursuit?
That's a total number.
From
for backing into a pole to a collision with a building. And so I know that in the light blue, chart, which is the vehicle accidents. Of course, there's a cost factor there involved with the department as well, because then you've got to replace or repair that vehicle. And so I know that is an area of concern, and it's actually added to Blue Team now as well. But as you know, I've beaten the drum since I've got here about pursuits, and starting to see that trend down, and hearing people grumble about the new policy. Certainly that is provides adrenaline, but we have to think about the safety first and come up with alternative means like setting up perimeters and things like that to catch people, as opposed to racing down our streets.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Zelenka?
Yeah, Mark, thanks again for the great work that you do as the police auditor. Every year we come here, and I'm always impressed with your presentation, with the work that you do. I think it's particularly important that you make this public presentation and talk about all these statistics and the numbers and the complaints, and have them be vetted in public. It's this type of transparency that I think adds trust and credibility to the work that you do, and also the work that the EPD does. So I think that's a very important function. And thank you to the CRB members, and for you both being here this evening. And a special thanks to Tim Lowy, who's leaving the commission, or the board, and for the work that he's done over the last couple of years, and especially when he was chair. I know he worked hard, and he did a very good job. So thanks, Tim, even though you're not here, maybe you're watching.
A very thorough report. I know we all appreciate it very much. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, so winding up tonight, you saw on our council agenda tonight the City Hall, but unless you have something you want to talk about, we feel we kind of disposed of the issue at our Budget Committee meeting about things that needed to be dealt with immediately. So if there's something else that you have, otherwise we'll have a real work session on next steps for City Hall at a future date. So. Okay? Fine? All right.
Good. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.